manufacturers and some of the best drivers in the world clashed head-on in a formula which has taken motor racing by storm. The AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship, Africa's most exciting racing formula. Mike Briggs has already clinched the 1995 AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship, and the interest at AA Kyalami was in the tremendous battle between Dion Joubert and Grant McCleary for second place. Duncan Foss led the Class B Championship ahead of Kersey Swanepoel.
The big battle in AA Fleetcare touring cars has to be for second place. 2 points separates the man on pole today, Dion Joubert in the EnviroCar BMW, and the man next to me, Grant McCleary in the Opel Vectra. Grant, a tough day ahead of you.
A very, very tough day. My qualifying session didn't go the way I liked it to go, and Dion's flying. You know, I've been second in the championship for most of the season. He took it away from me in East London. The BMW is going very, very well, and you know, the Vectra's also going well. It's just that, as I said, I didn't have such a good qualifying session, and I'm fourth for the first heat and seventh for the second heat, so I've got a lot of work to do today.
Now, Grant, that's strange. Thursday practice, you were absolutely flying. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the fastest time that a touring car has ever set up around Kyalami.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I think, you know, we run on qualifying tyres, which is a tyre that really lasts maybe 2 laps, and I didn't have enough time to practice on Thursday with qualifying tyres, so I opted to go for the race tyre qualifying setup, and it didn't pay off. My teammate Sean Watson-Smith, he decided to go for the quali setup, and it paid off, you know, so it's a gamble you take. The second race I went for a quali setup. The car was great, and unfortunately I got balked by one of the Class B cars, and that was my left guard, my quickest left guard. So, you know, I'm just going to have to really drive pretty hard today.
Grant, excitement to you, though, must be, you've been on the pace with Michael Briggs the whole year. You guys have run together. He's now gone to Britain and absolutely flying over there. It's got to mean you guys are right up there with the very best.
I think we are. I mean, it's South African sportsmen have always been good. I mean, we've got world champions for the last couple of years, and you know, it is very good. It's Michael drove extremely well. And I spoke to him last week, and he was saying that South African guys actually harder to pass than the British guys.
They just make that car a little bit wider.
A little bit wider, and we seem to try a little bit harder, you know.
Grant, plans for the future, the new Vectra coming out here?
Looks very, very good. They haven't tested it yet. I think it gets launched in Europe in September, and it's going to be, the race car will be shaking down, I believe, next week sometime. So everyone's holding thumbs that it'll go a little bit quicker. You know, the Cavalier really only, the Vectra we race, really only started to come on pace this year. If you think of it, the last 2 or 3 years, it hasn't been really that quick in England. Only this year has it really gone. So let's hope that the new Vectra comes out of the box straight away, and he's extremely quick.
Well, Grant, pressure on you today. Go out there and enjoy yourself, and let's see what happens with that second place in the championship.
Pole position in round 19 of the Super Touring Championship went to Dion Joubert with his BMW EnviroCar teammate Sean van der Linde alongside him on the front row. Debutant Sean Watson-Smith takes over from Mike Briggs and shares the second row with Opel Vectra teammate Grant McCleary. Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota Camry is on the third row alongside Chris Aberdeen in the Rothmans Audi Quattro. Old rivals Terry Moss in the second Quattro and Cyril van der Merwe in the Sassel Ford Mondeo share the fourth row. Former Tyrrell Grand Prix driver Julian Bailey in the Minolta Camry and Nick de Waal in the BP Nissan Sentra round out the top 10. The 2 BMW EnviroCars on the front row of the grid for round 19 of the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. And poleman Dion Joubert's start looked a little suspect. Now Joubert has hesitated, and Sean Watson-Smith is squeezing through between the 2 front row BMWs into the total curves, and Watson-Smith leads on his Super Touring debut. The race cam pictures are from the Joubert BMW with Sean van der Linde and Grant McCleary disputing the same piece of road. Sean Watson-Smith leads Joubert, van der Linde and McCleary with the 2 Toyota Camrys 5th and 6th. That is Anthony Taylor right on Julian Bailey's rear bumper, but it's Sean Watson-Smith having his first Super Touring outing who has stormed into the lead on lap 1 out of 12. Into the Goodyear sweep for the first time, and Nick de Waal has made up early ground in the BP Nissan Sentra. De Waal is up into 6th from 10th place on the grid. Behind him, he has the 2 Rothmans Audis with Cyril van der Merwe in the first of the Sassel Ford Mondeos. Now we're in with de Waal in the Sentra, and this is the approach to Goodyear corner. And one of the Audis is trying to muscle through on the inside. It looks like Terry Moss, and Moss is off the circuit. De Waal and Moss are 2 hard characters, but here's more trouble for de Waal, with Chris Aberdeen and Cyril van der Merwe going past the Nissan at the entrance to the Rothmans S's. Nick de Waal dropped 2 places with the leaders into West Bank corner, and Anthony Taylor has just got past Julian Bailey and is up into 4th with Dion Joubert challenging for the lead. Joubert went for the title line through West Bank, but Watson-Smith won't be intimidated and is fighting back. Grant McCleary has the best seat in the house as they fly down the Caltex mineshaft. And Joubert and van der Linde are saying to Watson Smith, welcome to Super Touring. Watson Smith is under pressure from the BMWs, but it's standing his ground. Grant McCleary also wants a piece of the action. And look at this, and they're side by side going into the AA kink. Race cam action from the Joubert BMW Enviro car, and this is real He-Man stuff. McCleary leaves van der Linde on the inside of the circuit with Taylor and Bailey steaming up on the outside in the Toyota Camrys. This is Gestetner corner leading onto the main straight, and Taylor has forced his way past van der Linde and is bringing Bailey with him. Van der Linde, the 1994 champion, is back into 6th place, and Anthony Taylor is on a mission in the Castrol Camry. Superb race cam action from the Toyota, with Taylor now trying to find a way past Grant McCleary. There's a lot of cement on the circuit to soak up oil patches, and on lap 2 of the race, order is Watson Smith leading from Joubert, with McCleary 3rd and Taylor 4th. Former Grand Prix driver Julian Bailey is 5th, with van der Linde fighting back. Next up is Aberdeen, followed by the 2 Sassel Fords, with Terry Moss on a charge after his first lap tangle with Duval. Into the tight left-hander at Goodyear corner, and Watson Smith is in trouble. The race leader has lost the oval. It's a case of sideways Smith. Oh, and a great piece of driving as Watson Smith gathers it all together again, but it's cost him places. Dion Joubert also lost out in that incident. Joubert found himself boxed in, and Grant McCleary is into the lead, followed by the 2 Toyota Camrys. That little incident cost Watson Smith and Joubert 3 or 4 places, and there's more trouble further down the field. We just caught a glimpse of what looked to be a big accident on the exit from the Rothmans S's as the leaders get on the brakes for Westbank corner. It looked as though one of the BMWs and a Sassel Ford tangled in the Rothmans S's, and the red flag is out. The red flag is out, and the race has been stopped on lap 2. Another huge crowd at AA Kyalami, but the race has been stopped, with Grant McCleary and the 2 Toyotas rolling to a stop on the start line. It was Sean van der Linde and Samuel van der Merwe who were involved in the incident at the Rothmans S's, with race cam action from Nick Duval's BP Nissan Sentra. Van der Linde spins in the S's and rolls back onto the circuit, with van der Merwe left with nowhere to go as he slams into the BMW, with Duval and Steve Windham in the 2nd Sassel Ford having to take evasive action. That was a huge impact, but Saul van der Merwe is out of the Mondeo as marshals attend to Sean van der Linde, and there are some worried Super Touring officials and team personnel back at the start-finish line. That's not a happy sight as medical rescue teams attend to Saul van der Merwe. The race is being restarted and will run over the full 12 laps, with good news from AA Kyalami race officials. Sean van der Linde and Saul van der Merwe are being treated at the circuit hospital, but neither is seriously hurt. Racing is underway again. Dion Joubert has this time got into the lead from the start, and no hint of a premature getaway this time around. Dion Joubert leads from Sean Watson Smith, with Grant McCleary tucking into 3rd place. Anthony Taylor and Julian Bailey are 4th and 5th in the Camrys, with Chris Aberdeen 6th in the Rothmans Audi Quattro. Aberdeen has teammate Terry Moss behind him, with Nick Duval ahead of the sole Sassel Ford Mondeo, Steve Windham and Jamil de Villiers in the 2nd BP Nissan. German driver Sabina Reck brings up the rear of a depleted Class A field in the Motorplan BMW, with Kersey Swanepoel in the 1st of the Class B contingent in the yellow BMW. Swanepoel is ahead of championship leader Duncan Foss as we go to race cam action with Nick Duval. This is Goodyear corner, where Duval had a coming together with Terry Moss on the 1st lap of the aborted race. Duval has both Rothmans Audis ahead of him, but no shenanigans this time around. And there's an awful lot of cement dust in the Rothmans S's. That's a legacy of the van der Linde van der Merwe crash. Up onto the tabletop at Westbank for the first time, and it's heavy on the brakes. Drivers are using all sorts of lines at Westbank as they try and get the drop on the car ahead. Sabina Reck is last out of Westbank as Dion Joubert leads the charge down the Caltex mine shaft and into the Haviline sweep. There's no lifting off the gas as the cars slide through the sweep, and then it's hard on the brakes again for the AA Bowl. A couple of cars lock up under braking for the Bowl, and we're back with Nick Duval, who still has the Audis ahead of him. Note the column-mounted gear shift on the Nissan with the sequential gearbox operating like a motorcycle gear change. The drivers use all the curves of the AA kink, and Dion Joubert is still out in front of the Opel Vectras, driven by new boy Sean Watson Smith and Grant McCleary. Kersey Swanepoel still leads the Class B runners. Championship leader Duncan Foss is 2nd in the Accord Nissan, with Don Brains 3rd. The Elmarie is 4th in the Bankpin Toyota Sprinter, which is carrying the scars of a coming together with Kersey Swanepoel and Hein Latergan on the 1st lap of the aborted race. Lottergen couldn't make it to the restart of the motor-built VW Jetta, but the championship race is between Curtis Swanepoel and Duncan Foss. Swanepoel built up a big lead early in the season, but a late charge has seen Foss move into a narrow lead, and both of them need wins this time around. We are back with the race leader with race cam action from the Dion Joubert BMW Enviro car. Behind him is Sean Watson-Smith, who is making a tremendous impression in his first Super Touring outing. Watson-Smith is a factory Opel Group N driver, and with AA Fleetcare champion Mike Briggs overseas for a round with the British Touring Car Championship, the young Port Elizabeth driver has been given his big chance and is making the most of the opportunity. Joubert leads the pack into Westbank, followed by the two Opel Vectras, the Toyota Camrys of Taylor and Bailey, and the Rothmans Audis. Steve Wyndham's Sassel is sandwiched between the two BP Nissans, with Sabina Reck the last of the Class A cars in the BMW Motorplan entry. Grant McCleary is third in the Opel Vectra, and you need to take a deep breath to go through the Havilene sweep without easing off the accelerator. And Watson-Smith locked up the brakes. The youngster is really trying, but you need to look after your tyres in Super Touring. Dion Joubert leads our high-speed Super Touring train through the AA Kink, with the drivers making use of every centimetre of the AA Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. The first 5 cars are closely bunched, with a terrific scrap developing between Aberdeen and Moss in the Audis, Steve Wyndham in the Sassel 4 Mondeo, and the two BP Nissans of Nick de Waal and young Janil de Villiers. Another grandstand seat with Nick de Waal as the cars accelerate down the Gestetner straight to around 200 kilometers an hour for the total curves. This is a tricky right and left combination, and then it's up the short straight to the double left-hander at Nashua. This is another tricky corner, and drivers aren't given a single moment of respite around Kyalami's 4.2 kilometers. They are working overtime every centimetre of the way. This is the Goodyear sweep, and race leader Dion Joubert is under tremendous pressure from Sean Watson-Smith. The new kid on the block is ahead of teammate Grant McCleary and is starting to put the squeeze on Dion Joubert, who's been through it all. Joubert grew up racing karts, won the South African Formula 4 Championship, and is in his third year of Super Touring racing, so he knows what pressure is all about. The leading trio have put a little distance between themselves and Anthony Taylor in 4th place in the Castrol Toyota Camry. British driver Julian Bailey is still 5th in the Minolta Camry, with Terry Moss leading the bunch that includes Audi teammate Chris Aberdeen and Steve Wyndham in the Sassel Ford, who is still sandwiched between Nick de Waal and Janil de Villiers in the BP Nissan Sentras. Race cam action from race leader Dion Joubert, with the car sliding through the Havilene sweep. Again, Watson-Smith locks up the Opel Vectra's brakes on the approach to the AA Bowl. You're either hard on the power or hard on the brakes in a race car, but the tyres won't like too much of that sort of treatment. The Audi Ford Nissan battle is still in full swing, and at the front of the field, Dion Joubert is once again under severe pressure. Sean Watson-Smith is climbing all over the back of Dion Joubert under braking for Gestetner. Watson-Smith takes a wide line and is looking to slingshot through on the inside. He's done it! A marvellous piece of tactical driving by Sean Watson-Smith, and Grant McCleary is also attacking. McCleary moves up alongside the BMW, and here's the inside line for the total curves. Is McCleary through? Yes, both Opel Vectras have moved ahead of Joubert, who finds himself relegated to 3rd place. Anthony Taylor is 4th, with Julian Bailey 5th, and Terry Moss is also in the points at this stage in 6th position. Sean Watson-Smith leads in his first ever Super Touring race, and what a performance from the young man from Port Elizabeth. Teammate Grant McCleary is behind Watson-Smith in the 2nd Opel Vectra, with Dion Joubert 3rd, and this sets up an intriguing situation. Joubert leads McCleary by just 2 points in the race to finish 2nd in the championship behind Mike Briggs. If matters stay as they are, the pair will be level in the championship, and the battle between these two over the next couple of laps is going to be very interesting indeed. Watson-Smith is opening up a slight gap over McCleary, and we could have history in the making, with Watson-Smith winning a Super Touring race on debut. We are into the closing stages of this race, and in Class B championship leader Duncan Foss in the Accord Nissan Sentra has pulled out a big lead over Curtis Swanepoel in the BMW. Foss has chalked up 6 wins in a row, and this could be number 7, with Swanepoel under pressure from Leon Marie in the Bankfin Toyota Sprinter. And Marie is making a move at Nashua, a good clean overtaking manoeuvre, and Marie is up into 2nd place. Leon Marie, a former fighter pilot who now flies airliners, but he'll need some rocket power if he's going to catch Foss with race distance running out. Race leader Sean Watson-Smith is starting to disappear into the distance, but what a battle we have for second place. Dion Joubert in the BMW Envirocar is swarming all over the McCleary Oval Vectra. This is also the race for second place in the AA Fleetcare Championship. And with race distance running out, it's hotting up. Julian Bailey has worked his way up to fourth, with Terry Moss fifth in the Rothmans Audi Quattro. Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota Camry has dropped back to sixth and must have some sort of a problem. This is the big battle on the racetrack at the moment, with Dion Joubert chasing Grant McCleary and trying to force a mistake from his great rival in the Super Touring Championship stakes. Only 2 points separate the pair in the championship, and if McCleary can hold on to second place, he'll draw level with Joubert. Watson-Smith has a comfortable lead and looks to have a fairy tale win in the bag, but the Class A cars are in amongst the slower Class B traffic, and that could produce some late drama. This is the penultimate lap, and McCleary and company will be hoping the Class B drivers are keeping an eye on their mirrors. What a battle between Grant McCleary and Dion Joubert. This is gripping stuff, and it's not over by a long chalk. Up the Rothmans Hill to the tabletop at West Bank, and disappearing over the brow of the hill was Kersey Swanepoel's BMW. McCleary and Joubert should catch Swanepoel somewhere down the Caltex mine shaft or the Havilene sweep, or that could just give Joubert the break he needs to snatch second place from Grant McCleary. Race leader Watson-Smith passes Marie through the Havilene sweep, and here comes Swanepoel in the Class A cars. Swanepoel moves right over, and that was considerate and responsible driving from the Cape Town youngster. He'll get a pat on the back for that. Grant McCleary is having to take the defensive lines through the corners, and that is slowing him down, and Joubert down. Julian Bailey and Terry Moss are closing the gap. Onto the Gestetner straight, with the marshal furiously waving the blue flag to warn the reed that McCleary and company are coming through at a rapid rate of knots. This is the start of the last lap, and it's white-knuckle time for Grant McCleary and Dion Joubert. Julian Bailey and Terry Moss are not out of the picture yet. A rash move from either McCleary or Joubert could see them pick up a place or two, and we're in for a grandstand finish for second, third and fourth place. Joubert is right on McCleary's bumper as race leader Sean Watson-Smith laps Class B leader Duncan Foss. This is a magnificent battle, and it's far from over. Through the Goodyear sweep at around 220 kilometers an hour, with the tight left-hander at Goodyear corner up ahead. McCleary is defending the inside line, is making the oval as wide as he can, and it's up to Joubert to find a way past. It's all perfectly legal as long as McCleary doesn't start weaving from side to side on the track. Through the Rothmans S's, and once again McCleary is defending for all his worth. Up the hill to West Bank, and you can bet your bottom dollar Joubert will mount another attack. Duncan Foss moves over, and Dion Joubert is trying to find a way through on the inside of West Bank. McCleary is holding his line, but got a little tap or two from Joubert for his trouble. The rearranged rear bumper on the oval was evidence of contact between the two cars as they fly down the Caltex mine shaft. McCleary has pulled a car length on Joubert, who now has Julian Bailey right on his tail. The AA Bowl and the entrance to Gestetner corner could be the last overtaking opportunities for Joubert, with second, third and fourth now locked together, and Terry Moss is also right there. Through the AA Kink, and a marvellous race as one corner to go. Watson-Smith will win as McCleary and Bailey take the inside line for Gestetner. With Joubert and Moss going wide, McCleary and Bailey choose the better option. Sean Watson-Smith leads Grant McCleary in the dash for the line, and Watson-Smith is slowing down, and Grant McCleary has been handed victory on a plate. With the championship situation in mind, Watson-Smith deliberately gave his teammate the win and timed the move to perfection. Drama at AA Kyalami, with Sean Watson-Smith throwing away a maiden Super Touring win on debut. Grant McCleary wins from Watson-Smith and Dion Joubert, and is back in second place in the championship. Another win in Class B, his seventh in a row for Duncan Foss, and that cements his hold on the championship. Some happy race drivers celebrate on the podium with a traditional champagne, but what a Super Touring debut for Sean Watson-Smith, and what drama right at the end of an enthralling race.
Same time, it was very slippery, and then through the first and second S it was incredibly slippery, and I think that's where all the trouble started. So it was a little bit behind me, but I was actually quite disappointed because I was leading and I came across the start-finish line and stopped the race. But you know, I can't complain now, but I must just congratulate my new teammate Sean. He drove an exceptional race. What a debut to touring car racing.
Grant, all over to do now again, round 20.
Yeah, it is, except I'm 7th on the grid now, so I'm really going to have a big fight on my hands. But I've got to go and do it.
Stay tuned for more AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship action.
Joining us in his busy schedule for the day here, Chairman of Super Touring Car Racing in South Africa, Graham Duxbury. Graham, welcome.
Thank you.
Graham, something I see here today in the Super Touring cars today is the youth that you're bringing through.
Yes, we have a number of young drivers. We also have some older drivers. And I think this weekend in particular, Sean Watson-Smith came from Group N. I think a lot of people thought that Group N is Group N and touring car is touring car, and it will take a long time for any young driver coming from Group N to get into touring cars quickly. Well, Janelle de Villiers did it earlier in the year, and now Sean Watson-Smith has done it here. He was a fraction off getting pole position in the second qualifying yesterday, and only in the dying moments did Dion Joubert take it away from him, but he's still in the front row of the grid. I think this proves that we have an enormous depth of talent in South African motor racing, and particularly probably coming from the Standard Group N series. What is also a message maybe to the team managers is to have an experienced driver who can set up the car, and then a younger driver to learn what to do with the motor car to make it go quicker. So we go back in the past to the Andretti-Peterson duo with Lotus in the late 70s, where Andretti set the car up, but Peterson was always one who was quicker, would use those settings. Now, if you take it into today's racing, it's the same thing. Let the experienced driver set the car up so that the younger driver can go faster, but also the experienced driver can teach the younger driver what to look for. So when it's understeering or oversteering or it's not balanced, he can explain what to do to the dampers or to the aerodynamics or whatever is necessary to make this car perfect. And really, I think that's what's happened yesterday. I think, again, if you have a look at Anthony Taylor and Julian Bailey, Anthony's learned a lot from Julian Bailey over the last two events.
Interesting situation overseas now, because I think Cleland and Thompson had a similar thing in the Opel team in the British Touring Car Series. I wonder who's teaching who what this weekend with Michael Briggs over there.
Michael has one disadvantage. He doesn't know the circuits. These are circuits the Englishmen have been driving on for maybe 20 years, and the little nuances of the circuit are difficult to get used to. However, apparently on testing on Thursday at Alton Park, there were the two Volvos that were quickest, and then second was Cleland and then Michael Briggs. So he's going to learn, and I think he's very lucky to have 3 events to get used to it. And by the time he gets to Alton, that's not saying he's not going to do well at Snetterton this weekend, but by the time he gets to Alton, he's really going to be on top of the car and the surroundings.
Graham, young driver now that sees his hero in super touring car racing, what is his correct way of coming into the sport eventually to get himself through into a super touring car?
If he wants to drive a saloon car, then he must start in Group N. Group N is a wonderful learning base, and you can do it for very little money. If you start
with the drag track?
Exactly, start there. I mean, that's rough. I don't know how long you want to stay there, but you want to stay there long enough to learn and then move through. And that's the whole point of it, because a lot of the manufacturers are looking at those drivers, and particularly if they're driving for the same manufacturer. But when an opportunity arrives, exactly what's happened with Sean Watson-Smith, he's able to move up into touring cars.
Graham, we spoke to Corin Bryden earlier from AA Fleetcare with regards to the international event. Obviously fantastic for you guys to have been able to put this together again. There was a little cage on some of the international names coming out, but I'm sure those are going to be in the press very, very soon. But obviously fantastic once again for our youngsters to have these top class drivers coming out from Europe and running with them in the same car.
Yes, and I think not only do I agree with you there, but one of the things which has happened for us is that the Asian Pacific Series has been cancelled, which means that literally every touring car driver in the world is available to come to South Africa. And I can assure you that they all want to come. We have, I think, probably 3 times more drivers who want to come and drive here than we have cars to put them in. So I would imagine that the manufacturers are going to choose people who are right out of the top drawer.
Graham, we sometimes see the drivers being particularly fussy about their car setup. I would just love to know, in a car that is so twitchy as I see the super touring cars are, how do 2 drivers share a car in one day?
Always with a certain amount of difficulty. A correct team manager has got to look at what the drivers want and eventually choose a balance between the two. If I may tell a small story of Ken Howes with Sarah, myself and Tony, eventually said if you listen to all of us, he'd have the front wheels in the back and the back wheels in the front, and eventually he has to listen to the whole thing, and the correct engineer will then engineer the car to the best of both without giving everybody the extremes.
Nice to think back there about Ken Howes and that win in the 24-hour Daytona. Graham, thanks very, very much, and great to see the field's growing all the time, and Super Touring Car and AA Fleetcare going places with racing in South Africa.
Thanks very much.